There's not a feeling of hope. This is a final boss theme. This should be optimistic, like, oh, they're finally gonna do it. No, 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 no. I'm starting to think that Final Fantasy XIII is actually one of those underappreciated gems of the Final Fantasy series. Due to a bunch of different issues, hasn't been appreciated. Let's listen to Nascent Requiem from Final Fantasy XIII. I am truly baffled. This is really, really, really exceptionally good. Like, it starts with a precursor piece of music that sets the scene. We slowly build, and then we reach a point where we launch into the fight. We have these open chords in the piano that are Rachmaninovian. Layering wise, this is fantastic. Every single instrument sounds like it's moving at its own pace, doing its own thing. It's such a cohesive experience, and yet none of it is like on top of each other. There's no doubling necessarily. There might be actually, but there's no like, it's so unique. I'm almost at a loss for words. It's not like the craziest, most incredible track I've ever heard. By no stretch of the imagination is it. I would want a little bit more of a boisterous sound quality to a boss battle. And this is the final boss, so it's not necessarily my favorite final boss theme that I've heard in a Final Fantasy. However, I'm really, really, really impressed by this cacophony of confusion that each individual instrument is making and as a cohesive whole. It's so good. Like, even right there, listen. Like, this is symphonic. So you have da 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 bum 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 bum. Boom. 3 different instruments layered on top of each other doing 3 different things, and yet cohesively they make one sound. Like, that's symphonic writing. That is so it's so good. And look at how music in a traditionally composed way can still elicit disarming feelings of stress and fear. Like, that's tension. You got the horns, you got the piano. That creates tension in a traditional orchestrated way. It's not synthetic, it's not overly produced, it's just real instruments. Oh. Even that, look at the effect there, and that is so incredibly effective at causing us to feel discomfort. Like, that's so cool. This reminds me a lot of piano pieces that I've heard from Final Fantasy that lean on the piano. You usually hear it in like the live performances or like the small ensemble performances of like Final Fantasy lives. I don't know if this is actually in-game music for Final Fantasy 13, but that is just so incredibly satisfying that even just little gesture that causes discomfort. But it's like we forget that we can just like parse down discomfort and stress through the use of instruments and the way that we play them, the way that that trombone there. Listen to this. Right there. Boom, boom. It just slams and it's like, whoa. And all that paints a picture of like, you're not going to win. You're not going to be able to defeat this. You're dead. You're dead in the water. Like, you can try, but this is going to kill you. And that's the quality that it's incredible how it derives from the use of classical instrumentation to cause this fear and alarm. I know I've repeated myself every single time I've stopped, but this is an important thing to keep reiterating, that classical music and classical orchestration can still elicit a feeling of fear, even in a game that isn't a horror game like a Dead Space or a Resident Evil, but it can evoke that in a Final Fantasy game, which is not necessarily known to be a horror experience. It's amazing how we can create that, and there's not a feeling of hope. This is a final boss theme. This shouldn't be this creepy. This should be optimistic, like, oh, they're finally gonna do it. No. There's no melody in this piece. This is all over the place. It's cacophonous, it's violent, it's loud. It makes us feel a little bit on edge and very uncomfortable. See, now we have a shift. This actually sounds like Strauss, Richard Strauss to me. This is so melodic, especially in those strings. That's powerful. And it's pulled back nature. We've just had this intensity, and now we're shifting gears and we're pulling back, and it makes us feel calm, reflective. And then it ends. That's interesting. I'd want to hear more of that. Yeah, so that's Nascent Requiem. I mean, it certainly doesn't sound like a Requiem. That sounds agitated. I guess you could say it sounds like a Dies Irae, the bringer of the end. I've really started to fall in love with Final Fantasy XIII's music. I think it's really divine, and it's delicious and really interesting and evocative and multi-layered. I really want to sit down and play it. I know it's linear. I know that some people don't love it. I myself have made fun of it, but I'm ready to give it a shot because I think it's a quality game, and it certainly has quality music. If you like this, there's a lot more on the channel. I'm a Final Fantasy nut. If you are, feel free to join the Discord. As always, thanks a ton, and I'll see you in the next video, all right? Bye.